Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our session. We are going to get started. This is how to drive engagement with 3D maps. My name is Greg Banneker. I'm your host. I am the Senior Product Marketing Manager for Maps at Mapbox. And today's presenter, the person you are all here to see and to listen to, is Owen Powell, who is a very talented map designer here at Mapbox. Now, before we dive in, I just wanted to do some quick housekeeping. You should see your chat and Q&A icons in the menu at the bottom of your screen. Please use chat for any general comments you have, but if you do have specific questions, you can go ahead and put them in the Q&A box. That's where our panel is going to be able to see those questions. So let's get started. Much of our session today is about our new 3D default style called Mapbox Standard. And one customer that is already leveraging the style to help connect users to events, restaurants, shows in New York City is Pursuit Labs. And what we particularly like about how Pursuit Labs is using the style is how they've used the built-in configuration options in Standard plus their own icons to build a map that feels specifically designed for their brand and application. So let's hear what Steven Silber, their CTO, has to say.
Hi there, I'm Steven Silber, the Chief Technology Officer at Pursuit. Pursuit is all about discovering New York City. Whether it's finding the hottest restaurants, the most exciting concerts, or just a perfect spot for Sunday brunch, we've got you covered. But what really sets us apart is how we connect you to the things that matter most, your friends who are exploring the city alongside you. We recently integrated the new 3D maps, and it's a game changer. Imagine seeing New York City in stunning 3D with buildings popping right off the screen, all displayed in beautiful, handcrafted color palette. It's not just pleasing to the eye, it makes discovering your next favorite spot even easier. But it's not all about looks. The power of Mapbox allows us to give you rich data visualization. That means more accurate, more relevant, and more personalized recommendations. Whether you're a lifelong New Yorker or just visiting, Pursuit helps you experience the city like never before.
And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Owen, who will walk us through our latest 3D experience and how you can use it like Pursuit Labs to build engaging and interactive maps. So off to you, Owen.
Hey, thanks, Greg. Hi, everyone. My name's Owen. I'm part of the map design team at Mapbox. And I'm going to be talking to you today about Mapbox Standard, which is a new 3D style with improved 3D rendering and new 3D content. It's a fully dynamic style, so it's a single style sheet that can have multiple uses through changing different lighting settings. And we've designed it to be user experience first, so you can very simply add in your own custom layers. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our design approach and how we came up with the features that you can see here. So through research and listening to our customers, we wanted to enhance the 3D rendering and the content of our maps. So this image here is where we started almost with Mapbox Streets, which has some 3D features, but is fairly limited, should we say. But as well as the 3D content, we also wanted to simplify the user experience. Now, the classic styles aren't going anywhere, but the majority of our customers will build applications and pick a style, but not really modify it that much. And perhaps if they do, we'll only really change a couple of things. So we got together the map design team, the 3D engineering teams about a year and a half ago and locked ourselves in a room. And we really wanted to come up with a new 3D style that took the best elements of our existing classic styles. We wanted to add depth and immersion by adding lighting and an improved rendering. We've embraced something called symbolic realism, where we are using symbolic map design and not really seeking to create an exact replica of reality. One of the main things we were interested in doing was creating a map that has a low maintenance burden for users. And of course, it has to be performant. You can very quickly amass very large file sizes when you're adding 3D content in terms of meshes and textures. So we designed it to be as lightweight and performant as possible. And building on from where we were with Globe, we wanted to continue this free, unconstrained 3D space right down to street level. So our approach to 3D design is called symbolic realism. Now, with quite a few 3D maps, 3D objects are dropped onto a base map, and they have pre-baked styles and textures, and you can't really change them, and they're not really dynamic. We designed our 3D content to be in the same symbolic fashion as if it were any other element of the map. So through our styling, we're able to change the look and the appearance of different parts of the models, but we're also able to make it completely dynamic so that we can change based upon the lighting, the color of the windows, for example. This 3D symbolic approach continues into the tree layer that we've added. Here we've taken a relatively small number of 3D models that we've designed, but adding some random variation in terms of color and scale and rotation, we were able to hopefully create quite a natural feel with these models. One of the main things that we've added with Mapbox Standard is a whole new lighting model. And I'm going to walk you through the three separate elements that make up the lighting model. The first one is ambient lights, where you can set the color and the intensity or the strength of the overall background lighting on your map. This is what's known as a root level property. So this is something that's fully configurable when building an application. The next lighting step is the direct light contribution. Again, you can set the light color and the intensity of this light, but also set the angle of a light by choosing any particular polar or azimuth angle, as well as specifying the intensity of the shadow that it casts. Now, when creating a new map with lighting, it's of course possible to have no lights whatsoever. So we came up with a new way of lighting individual layers at a feature level by using emissive strength. So this is where the individual roads or buildings have the ability to give off a bit of light on their own, so that in a very low light or even no light situation, you will still be able to see these features. And combined together, these are the three lighting models in the final rendered map. This is all done at runtime with no baked textures or anything. And you can configure this lighting, but we provide 4 different lighting presets for you to use, which are dawn, day, dusk, and night. Another major new feature of Mapbox Standard is the concept of importing the base map. So the actual map style itself, if you were creating an application, you would import Mapbox Standard and then proceed to add in your own custom data sources and layers. But what we've done is configured 3 slots, as they're called, top, middle, and bottom. So when you're adding your own data, you would specify the slot, and it will slot into that nicely predefined layer automatically. So when you're building an application with Mapbox Standard, we've provided a number of configuration options for you to quite dynamically change the look and feel of the map. So you can turn various label layers on and off, such as places, road labels, points of interest. You can also choose from those 4 predefined lighting setups, and you can also specify a custom font to use across the whole label layers. This also includes all of the existing root properties, such as being able to change the map projection, the camera, enabling terrain, or adding your own custom data sources. So here are a few examples of different industries and how they can use Mapbox Standard. The first one would be a rideshare or urban mobility application, where, say, you could create your own geofences, add your own custom icons, and labels immediately onto the map. This example is using a delivery concept and last mile logistics. And here we have a hotel search application where you can overlay hotel prices and search results on top of the style. This one is a retail example showing you how you could build a store finder application. And lastly, one for real estate to build a house search tool where you can overlay house price information, but also things like a search radius and other relevant information like subway lines straight into those predefined slots. So the other main thing about Mapbox Standard is that we are improving the user experience. A lot of our customers are not necessarily cartographers, although some are, but it can be quite onerous to maintain a very large number of layers, particularly if you have multiple styles. So what we are doing is maintaining the Mapbox Standard style on your behalf going forward, so that you can deploy it into an application without the risk of any breaking changes. And we're going to add new features as we go along, such as new data sets, visual improvements, and new configuration options. So this is actually a bit of a sneak preview. I'm going to talk about how you can use Mapbox Standard in Studio, which involves a slightly different way of working with a style than normal. So I'm just going to jump into Studio here. Okay. So what we have here is an example of a hotel finder application using Mapbox Standard, but you might notice that the Mapbox Standard is referenced here in a base map, and this is the import section. So what you can do is still add your custom layers as normal, but when referencing or importing the Mapbox Standard style, you then get access to these different configuration options, such as the ability to change the presets, turn off different layers, that sort of thing. The function to add your own custom data is still the same as it ever was, but now you get the ability to add and drag your layers into these predefined slots, as well as the ability to fully configure your own custom layers, plus some of the new functions that we've added, such as emissive strength and that sort of thing. Okay, so just going back to the presentation, what we are currently doing is launching Mapbox Standard as general availability. Currently, it's in beta release. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll be launching Standard as well as GLJS version 3, Mapbox Mobile SDK version 11, plus that ability that I've shown you there to interact and use Mapbox Standard in Mapbox Studio. Just to finish up here, we have a few links that you might find useful to some documents and tutorials for working with Mapbox, plus some blog posts that have been written if you wanted to find out more about how the landmark models were made, plus a blog post here about how you can use your own custom data and import Mapbox Standard into your application. Okay, so I think that's about it from me. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Owen. That was a great presentation. I do want to now open this up for questions. We do have some questions already in the Q&A, which I'll go over, but please feel free to use the Q&A button. You can see it right at the bottom of your menu to get some questions out there. Here's a question for Owen, and we also have one of our developers, Constantine, on the call. And we do also have some Mapboxers attending as attendees in case we need to tap them for answers. Is it possible to dynamically disable some of the performance heavy features like trees or shadows when running on older devices?
Hey, shall I answer that one? So I think the answer is certainly to do with the lighting. Um, the shadows are some of the root properties that you can change. So everything to do with lighting is fully configurable and could be dependent upon your application. The tree models themselves, you can't currently turn that layer off in Mapbox Standard with the configuration options. It may be something we'd look to do, but the models themselves are actually pretty lightweight. There's a small number of models that are very small in size, but they are instanced across the map with a LOD system. So as you are zooming into the map, the model is replaced with progressively more detailed versions of that tree. So it's quite performant in that regard. Oh, I think you're on mute, Greg.
Thanks. Sorry about that. We also have several questions about like bringing 3D models to the map. I'm going to post a link in the chat about an experimental API. So if you follow this link, this can answer some of your questions regarding bringing your own 3D models. Constantine, I don't know if you have anything else on that, but I did post a link.
Yeah, the Mapbox standard style was designed with Mapbox curated 3D models in mind so far. However, our renderers contain the basic capabilities to render arbitrary 3D models. How that API is going to look is something that's still up for discussion.
Okay, next question. Will Mapbox support the 2D style, or are we migrating to 3D as the default base layer style?
I can answer that. So all of the existing classic styles, such as streets, outdoors, satellite, they are not going away. So they are still going to be fully available for your application. I believe going forward that Mapbox Standard will be the default style if you were to build an application. But of course, this is fully configurable. Is that right, Konstantin?
Yep.
Good.
Okay, I have to be honest, we've got a lot of questions, so I'm going to keep rolling through. This question is about building height. So can I pull building height from Mapbox 3D models?
I would say that you can't currently do that. We have two building layers. There's the landmark models, but we also have a fill extrusion layer, which is based upon our buildings layer. So that layer itself is available as part of Mapbox Streets. But no, I don't think it's possible to extract any of those landmark models.
Okay, moving on. And I was able to get an answer to this. So Owen and Constantine, let me know if you need help elaborating. But is there a way to add roof features to polygons that are extruded?
Okay, so currently no, but that is something that we've been thinking about and that we're working on, the idea of creating procedural geometry. So in a way that our fill extrusions are already procedural in as much as that they're a flat polygon that's extruded, we give them a rounded edge. The next step is to maybe look at adding roof shapes, different types of roofs as well.
Thanks, Owen. I'm just going to keep rolling and I'll actually cover this one. So how do you approach rolling out 3D buildings? Are you focusing on main cities one by one? Scott is wondering when we may get to their hometown in Cape Town, South Africa. So We do have a team that is diligently working on building and landmark coverage for cities around the world. And this is the current schedule. Of course, this is subject to change, but we did recently publish a blog post about this, which I'll put in the chat. But by the end of 2023, we want to have cities with 1 million plus population in the USA, Canada, Australia, parts of Japan, and Europe covered with landmarks. By 2024, major cities in NAFTA, Europe, Japan, Oceania, Mercosur, ASEAN, and the Middle East. So 2024 is really where we have a bulk of the rest of the world coming. And then by 2025, we want to cover 300 cities worldwide. And I'll post the link with a little more information about how we choose what to cover, and then how we even design, which we manually design our landmarks and buildings for each city. Yes, I'll post a blog for that. Okay, next question. Can you copy the tree layer and use a different data set in Mapbox Studio?
That's a good question. So currently, no, I don't think you can do that. The source of the tree is a Mapbox tile set. So we have a layer which pinpoints all of those trees as point features. It may be possible to use that layer and add your own custom models, maybe, but at the moment, it's not possible to change the source of the tree layer. We spent a long time looking at the trees and thinking about the trees and making them more performant. And there's some extra stuff that goes on behind the scenes in terms of rendering them. But we would maybe like to enhance our tree coverage in the future too.
So, and I'm going to keep with trees, because trees actually do seem to be a very popular topic in the Q&A. You may have already just answered this, but is it possible to add point layer for each feature to indicate what model to use? Like symbol layer has a property of icon image, example, like a palm or an oak.
Let me just read that. Added point layer. Okay, I don't quite understand the question, but we are at the moment using attributes against the tree points layer to load the relevant tree type. So there are broadleaf trees, coniferous trees, and palm trees in the data set. If that's the case, we will load the relevant model, if that helps.
Okay, thank you. Is there a way to add shadows to buildings without the workaround of blurring the outline of them?
So the new 3D rendering features in the upcoming Mapbox Maps SDK 11 for iOS and Android, and the V3 for the web actually contains real shadow rendering that is based on the actual shape of the building models or the extrusions, in case there are no building models available for a particular building. So there's nothing that we're blurring here. The shadow will appear a little bit blurry, just because most shadows appear a little bit blurry in real world as well. But it's not like just like a regular shape that's being blurred. It's actual shadows that are being rendered based on the 3D models.
Yeah, that's correct. So it's the actual cast shadow dependent upon that direct lighting angle that you specify. You can get very, short shadows or nice long ones depending upon your lighting setup.
Okay, thank you, Owen. I'm going to take this next one. So Mapbox has separate navigation day and navigation night styles. Are there plans to make new versions of them based on standard? So generally speaking, I just want everyone to know that we are evaluating what we call our classic Mapbox styles, which does include nav day and nav night and things like Mapbox outdoors or light and day. And trying to figure out right now what we're going to do with those moving forward in terms of standard and 3D capabilities. With that being said, we definitely would like to hear from our customers, and perhaps Alexander, looks like you asked this, what Mapbox styles, what classic Mapbox styles you would like to see transferred into 3 dimensions. Okay.
Also note that with Mapbox Standard, you can already use the same style, the same Mapbox Standard style, and configure different lighting configurations for that. So you can use Mapbox Standard with a day lighting and with a night lighting, and it's still the same style that has all of the 3D models on it, but it will just look completely different based on the lighting.
Thank you, Constantine. And Mapbox Standard does accommodate navigation right now. So that is going to be sort of what we evolve on moving forward for navigation. We do have some questions in the chat. Forgive me if we got to this, but where does the 3D building data come from?
So the actual landmark models we make ourselves. So we have a fantastic team of 3D artists that will to model those buildings. The fill extrusion data is based upon a number of different sources, largely OpenStreetMap data.
Thanks, Owen. Will you be implementing 3D models of natural areas, for example, national parks?
Well, we already have the ability to have a 3D terrain in the map. So in a way, the natural landscape, you know, will be part of the map. Not quite sure what other 3D features we could include. Maybe we could produce some procedural forests or trees within woodland polygons, for example.
Yes, and just to reiterate, yeah, terrain is currently part of the style, although that was something that was added between when we went from public preview and now, and then will be part of the style when we go to GA later this month. Okay, we have 2 minutes left, so I am going to ask this question that was about Studio. So in Studio, are you able to bring in satellite tile sets, 3D models, and all data layer types that you currently use?
No, currently. You can bring in some custom raster data, such as imagery, but it's not possible. I assume the question is regarding Mapbox Standard. It's not possible within that environment, but generally speaking, within Studio and Mapbox tiling service, it is possible to add in custom data, which is imagery based.
Okay. Thank you so much, Owen. Thank you so much, Constantine. I'm going to take this last minute to drop in links to what Owen showed on the last slide that he presented, just some resources, docs and tutorials and blog posts, so that everyone has access to these links. And then for anyone who has additional questions about 3D or Mapbox Standard, we do have an upcoming Maps Ask Me Anything session a little later during the build event. So please feel free to join that session. We'll have designers there. Constantine will be there, and they can answer some more of your questions. And that's almost an hour-long session, so we have a little more time. Yeah, so that'll wrap this up. Thank you so much, Owen. Thank you, Costine, again. I'm going to drop those links and we'll see you in the next session.
Thanks all.